Just for clarity, I had already indicated to the press that there isn't any recording of the hearing itself. I have no objection to photographs externally and camera, but not internally when a witness is giving evidence. Okay? Just that for the record. You're welcome, Mr. Irons. I understand you wish to give some evidence on behalf of the Cove Action for Clean Air Group. So,
correct. Good afternoon, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for that welcome. I feel most of you have been doing more work than I have, and I should be applauding you. However, briefly, sir, I come here as a blow-in, as somebody who maybe can see Ireland as the tourist sees Ireland. Somebody who travels a great deal and sees the strength of Ireland above the strength of many other countries. Somebody who sees how many countries have ruined themselves through lack of planning, lack of thought, lack of understanding of their own intrinsic values. Places like Korea, Malaysia, parts of Spain, you can go on, the list is endless, Romania. I came to Ireland 10 years ago. I now spend around 6 months of the year here. I'd like to spend longer. I came here because it has a most extraordinary quality. So often people will say to me, "Where do you live?" I say, "Well, actually, I spend some of my time in Ireland." And they say, "Oh, yes, it's a beautiful country." I say, "Have you been there?" They said, "No, but I must go." So your reputation goes before you. And your reputation can be taken for granted. And your reputation, as we know about reputations, can soon be lost. I think what we're discussing today is part of that equation. One of the advantages Ireland has is it's a late flowering economy, kick-started as it may have been by the entrance into the EU. But one of the advantages is that we can look and learn from the mistakes of the older industrial societies of the world. I don't believe that Ireland should remain full of leprechauns and tweenies. It's got to be a country that is proud of its economy, that has a strong economy. But I think there's a balance to be struck, and there is a baby and bathwater issue. Ireland is changing rapidly, and it's important that we safeguard what is now and what will become more and more so in the future as the rest of the world dashes towards stronger economies and higher standards of living at the expense of its environment, its main asset, and that, I believe, is its natural beauty, putting aside the charm of its inhabitants, its natural beauty. The country's beauty and the gentleness of its welcome has much to do with the fact that after agriculture and food, tourism is the biggest industry, earning, I believe, around €4 billion a year for the economy. So the tourist should be thought about, and it's as a tourist, as somebody who blows in and blows out, although I don't feel like a tourist, but I can see it with the freshness of the eye that an incomer can. It's from that point of view that I address you, sir, this afternoon. We've heard today, I believe, in a report that there's been a recent downturn in the tourist trade. Much of that, I'm sure, is because the Irish tend to holiday more and more abroad, and also because of the high prices, which this year seem to discourage many of the English. The Americans, of course, are going nowhere fast. But what this illustrates, rather cheaply, forgive me, is that tourism is a very delicate flower. Ireland's charm is its biggest asset. The joy of arriving in the magnificence of Cork Harbour at 7 o'clock in the morning, gliding past the beauty that is Cove, is a delicious aperitif to the beauty in store for thousands of tourists. In the same way, as the aeroplane circles Cork Airport, when the view is clear, the view below for the tourist whets the appetite for the treats in store. How will this be? How will this change when the chimneys of a toxic waste incinerator join into the vista, their smoke plume blowing northeast across the land? If toxic waste is inevitable, then at least it should be minimized, and government waste management policies should be implemented to the full. Burning, as they say, is the last resort. Cork produces 60% of Ireland's waste, I believe. I hope that's a sign of how economically viable it is as a city. EU instructs us that we can no longer export our problem. Look to your waste, Cork. Examine every option for reducing it, recycling it, redesigning products so that it is not produced in the first place, rather than throw up your hands in helplessness and burn it. To build an incineration plant when waste production is hopefully near its height, on the edge of one of the world's most beautiful harbours, the gateway of the southeast, in the teeth of an onshore southwesterly wind, seems an option tinged with madness. And if its capacity can deal with today's waste, and if today's waste, as I hope it will be, is reduced, to keep the incinerator working at optimum strength, its private owners will be forced for economic reasons to import waste from abroad, despite their assurances that they would remove that option from the planning application. I would ask, why then build on the shores of such a harbour, unless you wanted to import waste to burn? The people of Southern Ireland will be suffering the emissions, which I know I'm not allowed to talk about, from the rest of Europe. If the government's agenda is to turn Cork Harbour into an industrial wasteland, then so be it. The residents affected will give up complaining eventually, and those who can afford to will move away. Cork Harbour, the gateway to Southern Ireland, will lose its beauty, its charm, and its welcome for its millions of tourists who will choose to go elsewhere. And Ireland will have forever lost one of its greatest assets. Building such a facility in such a location sends out a message to the world that the Celtic tiger, limping as she may be, has finally turned on her own. And the message to other entrepreneurs will be that as long as you pay the piper, dear old Ireland is up for grabs. Thank you, sir.